screen sharing ready. Right, hold on, let me just sort out the classroom. Hold on. Let's come out the big screen version. Into the small screen. Sorry guys, I'm just sorting out the classroom. They can't log onto the big screen at the moment. 1 second. And then I need to be able to. Hello. Let me just. Where's my share screens? Right, share my screen. Start. Right. Oh, someone's got a delivery. Oh, fine. Oh. Right, I just need to connect to the Mac. So 1 moment. Neither both belong in the bin. So 1 moment, just connecting to the Mac to be able to log in, hopefully, fingers crossed. There we go. Just let's see. Can I just press join call on classroom? Right. Okay. Can classroom hear me now? Hi there. Cool. Right. You can big screen now. People in the classroom. And that should all. Cool. Hopefully everyone can now see me. I know Ryan's just sent me a message that said he can't see the screen. I think. Oh. No, I didn't want to do that. Thank you. Right. Okay, Ryan, yes, there is video, there's showing my screen. If you can't see my screen, start with the PowerPoint presentation that's on the HNC Blended Learning channel. That's what I'm going to be going through first of all, and then I'm going to be discussing how we actually take this. So let's start the slideshow off. Right, okay, so can everyone see the PowerPoint in one way or another? Either directly through Slack or off my screen. What I'm going to go through today, every time you put it, I can only do it when you're not got it on the big screen. Hold on. Oh, sorry, if you've done, yeah, sorry, if you've got that done, why is it asking to restart? No. As soon as you went, that shouldn't have done that. Hold on 1 moment, guys. Let me just see what's going on with the Mac. The Mac's being silly. Yeah, that's what it'd be. Right. Okay. As soon as I type in the password, I have no access to it anymore. I think because that means it's on the big screen. Hold on. Let's see. Have you guys in the classroom got it on the big screen now? Has it worked yet? You can see everything now. Okay. I can't control it. That's good. Right. Okay. I don't know how to do an online broadcast for. Oh, look at that! I can actually start a live broadcast directly from PowerPoint. I wonder if that was. Try it again the other day. Right, okay, so what we're going to go through is software testing first of all. The whole of Unit 21 can be summed up in some very, very simple parts. So what I'm going to do is go through the whole of Unit 21 in one go, and then from that set you some work to do based on this. Okay, so there's some learning objectives, as you can imagine. Let me just, hold on, close this screen down. The first tasks, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, is all about understanding the principles of software application testing. Learning objective 2 is about able to design test strategies, and there's 3 other criteria for that one. And third learning objective only has 1 criteria, which is about implementing a test plan. So we need to know everything that actually goes into making a test plan and then building it. Final stage is then evaluating test plans, of which there are 2 criteria, which is taking what you've done and actually then, well, evaluating it. So it's simple and straightforward. You may see on the right hand side of the screen the analysis, design, implementation, testing, evaluation and maintenance, which is the software development lifecycle. Now you've done all this with Adam before, and you've done some with me before as well. The idea is that you have the cycle itself, which just goes round and round. So you create a version 1 project, you analyse it out, design it, test it, evaluate it, and then you take what you've learned in the first version to put into the second version, i.e. then that goes back round, analysis, design, implementation and so on. All the time you're building the second version, you're running maintenance on the first version. And there are 3 different kinds of maintenance that you can perform, which we're going to go through. Now what's interesting is the principles of application testing actually fulfill the criteria of the software development lifecycle. They fulfill each of the different stages. So you can see that you've got specification listed first, that's within the analysis section. A dry run of the design, i.e. testing the design out, that's part of the design section. Obviously the implementation is the implementation. Methodology is what we now call testing. Maintenance is there on the screen on the cycle. User evaluation, requirements and documentation all come under the evaluation analysis of version 2. So we're going to break this down and go through each of these as sort of separate items. So let's start with the analysis section. Okay, what you're looking for is a specification to come out of your analysis. Now you've all done the analysis assignment, you've all got a specification. So you understand what a specification is. Is there one who doesn't? Silence, that's the way I like it. Okay, so we're going to start then. How do you analyse out the requirements that you need? Any ideas? Yep. Anything else? There are several different ways we can get information. There are primary sources and there are secondary sources. So the primary sources are things like observing them in their day-to-day work, asking them what they want, because sometimes what they want actually doesn't tally with what they currently do. We could do surveys, we could do interviews, there's all sorts of things there that we can actually get what it is that we're actually trying to produce. Secondary sources of information is looking at things like the current systems that they've got. It might be if you're doing something like a website or something like that, or a web-based application, you might look at their logos and things like that, so that that matches what you're after as well. Expected outcomes. Any idea what might be expected? Well, every client's got an idea, a clear idea of what they want to get out of you producing this piece of software, and that's what they're expecting as their outcomes, and you can build that into the specification as well. Timelines are important as well. You can set milestones, which is exactly what's going to happen when, so that you know if you're on track or not, and you can use a tool to do that. Does anyone know what that tool is? What sort of item might you create to show different timelines for how the project's going to go? Any ideas? It's a Gantt chart, yeah. It's kind of like a plan with timelines. So that's the whole of the testing that you need to do in the analysis, if you like. That's part of software testing, is actually making sure that your specification meets the analysis of the requirements and the expected outcomes and the expected lines. So you're testing it against actual real life information that you want to produce. Okay. For the design, it's a very, very simple part of what's that? What's that, Corey? That was the most random comment I think I've heard all day. I know it's only 9:45. Right, okay, no worries. Okay, so how do we test the design? Well, the design is actually tested very simply. You design it, and then you look back at your analysis of what your expected outcomes are and see if your design actually meets those expected outcomes. So being able to say, this meets this specification item X by this manner, that is you testing your design. Is that clear for everybody? Cool. Because then we're going to move on to the more complicated parts, which is going to be beyond what I'm going to do on the PowerPoint first of all. Okay, there are various different parts we can test for implementation. First thing is called black box testing. Now, I'm just going to move off PowerPoint for a second. I don't know if I've got Visio easy to access. I should have some. But, so I guess going to. Oh, I hate the way that everything's so difficult to find on Windows 10. Yeah. Right, let's. Good. All right. I know. Terrible. Oh. Oh. Oh dear. There we go. I'm sure you'll survive. Oh. Right, okie doke. Yeah, sit there watching YouTube videos. That's right. Right. Yeah. Right. Right, I have Excel failing on my laptop now as well. Right, so who knows what black box testing is? Okay, go on then. No. No. Nope. Okay. No, actually, surprisingly. Okay, it's very simple actually. Right, it's where you don't look at what's inside the code, and you see if it's working correctly based on getting the right output. Right, say I had a piece of code called add1. If I put of 1, the expected output should be 2. If I have the input of 2, the expected output should be 3, etc. And I can write a chart that shows the 3 different fields that I actually have. Okay, so what if I've got the following situation? Okay, input 1, input 2. I've got my rhythms called add together. Can you not? Why can't you click what? Oh, I don't know. It should be quite large. I'll make. Okay, I've made the words bigger anyway. Okay, so let's start with. This is an actual piece of code I do with my A-level students. Okay, so here we have Blackbox testing. Okay, there are 2 inputs, 2 values that go into this piece of code, input 1 and input 2. The expected output is therefore the 2 added together, which makes sense, and the actual output is shown there as well. Okay, can everyone see that okay and are clear with that? Yeah. What happens if I get the answer these last 2? Okay, can anyone work out what's actually gone wrong with the code, given those answers? So the expected output, I'm going to put into middle. Okay, what do you think's wrong with the second one? Sorry? This one looks like it's multiplied together. Yeah, okay. But obviously that isn't the case if you then look at the one before it. So there must be a different error. Anyone got any idea what the error might be? Let's have a quick look. Who's got issues on. Sorry, I know. It's like morning time. Any idea what the problem might be in this code? It is being recorded as well. Your voices won't appear in the recording, I don't think, because it only records from my microphone. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think? Well, it appears to work when you first start looking at it, but if you start looking at these numbers here that I'm going to highlight in yellow, what might be happening is reliant on these figures here. What do you think might be actually going on? Any ideas? Close. It's actually adding. Yeah, well, it is at doubling them. It's adding them to itself. Instead of adding input 1 to input 2, the code's been mistaken adding input 1 to input 1 to get the output value. Now, depending on what values you put into your black box test, depends on what you actually see as the result and see if there are any errors or not. If you use the same numbers for both, this error would never have been picked up. And like you say, if you just use 3 and 2, you might assume that it's actually being multiplied rather than actually adding input 1 to input 1. So black box testing can give you an overview whether there's a problem or not sometimes, but it can't always tell you exactly what's going wrong. There's 3 different types of data that you should try and use. Correct, wrong, and boundary. Anyone who's done A-levels will know what these are. Wrong is known as erroneous, just because it's a nice long word. But what we're looking at is information, like you say, we're almost trying to break it sometimes. And we're trying to go to the very edges of what is possible within an input, trying to use inputs that are completely wrong to see what happens, and inputs that should be accepted. So if I was to put in values like that, what would the expected output be? So I've used the letters ASD, ASD. No, it should be that it should not add them together. Yeah. See, it's not testing's not just about checking that the values that you expect to work actually do work. It's also making sure that any errors are caught as well. What if the result was ASD? It's actually added the two strings together, and maybe that is not what you wanted to do. You wanted to actually come up with some sort of error message instead. Okay. So the black box testing is just about taking the inputs, looking at the outputs, and seeing if they actually match as they should do. Given that, what do you think white box, also known as glass box testing, is? Exactly. Here's some code that I produced earlier. What I can do in this code, I'm not going to run it now, but I can set what's called a breakpoint if it wants me to, if it lets me. It's not going to let me at the moment. I can't even click on the code. It's still loading, I think. There we go. So I can breakpoints, which means that when this piece of code runs, I can actually look at every single line of code separately and see where any error might occur. So I can go through the code line by line. And that's white box testing. So what do you think functional testing is? It's not actually, no. It is testing each function in turn still. But making sure that the function actually works when it's made up of little sub-functions. Okay. So we might have add together, and we might have then multiply by 2. We might have these two bits of code next to each other. So let's get the expected output and actual output. Okay. Skype running on the system makes it go very, very slow. The input is the output that comes from add together. So overall, the two functions together make up your overall function, your overall mathematical function that you're going to be doing. And you actually check to make sure that when the two are connected together, they may work separately, but when you connect the two together, they might not work as they're supposed to. Does that make sense? And you can perform black box and white box testing at a functional level. Okay? What we then do after that is we start doing what are called subsystem testing, where we go into integration testing. Integration, we slowly add more and more functions together and check that them working together still produce the right outputs. Does that make sense? Yep. Oh right, okay, thank you. Oh, thank you. If you put it on my desk, I'll have a look at it later. Thank you. No, not for a while yet. So integration testing is where we slowly build up all the different components and check that they all work together correctly. Eventually you get to the whole system. Now whole testing is not necessarily just the technical system itself. Whole system testing also involves the people using the system, but we're going to go on to that in a little while. It also involves the hardware that the system is running on. So you can't just take the software and say, well, it works on my laptop, it must be fine. It's like my vClient software. It works fine on my laptop, but doesn't work on Corey's computer. You have to take the system as a whole and check it in that way. What do you think interface testing is all about? It can be, yes. What else might it be to do with? So it could be different resolutions for screens. It could also be how many times a person has to move their mouse to click from one button to another. And you can actually do things like track the mouse movement while someone's using the program. See that, are they constantly having to click top left corner to bottom right, for example? Wouldn't it be easier to move those two buttons together? So you can actually test to make sure that the interface is usable by people and B is actually fulfilling the needs in the way that it should do. Okay, so let's move on to the different types of testing then. First of all, two different ways we can test, top down and bottom up. What do you think is meant by top down testing? Exactly. Well done, Corey. You start with the interface and test the interface. Get all that working first. Then you start looking at the system as a whole, see where the bugs are, try and fix those, and you slowly work your way all the way down to the components, and then going into the components a step by step. What points do you think might need like top-down testing? What sort of projects do you think? It'd really be any sort of project where you're doing like where you're concentrating more on how it looks rather than its functionality. So some sort of website type project would pretty much be a top-down tested object or item. Bottom up is where we go the other way. We start at the components and work our way up through black box testing, white box testing, integration testing, etc. Component-based testing is where we split it up the objects into separate components. And for example, this is actually the project I'm working on in my level 3 group at the moment, and this is to a game. If you have a look, I do a series of different projects. Each time I actually test one little thing. So I've got a graphics project, which literally checks that they could be up on the screen. Then we did an object manipulation, so can they actually click on an object and drag it around the screen. Hotspot objects, can they click on a picture and see exactly where they've clicked, so you can work out clicked on a picture in a car, etc. And from that, we're then building up the full game. That is testing each component in a separate project and then merging it once we've got those components working correctly. A bit like we did yesterday with taking our website and then merging it into one working website before we uploaded it. Testing the graphical user interface. There's various different areas we need to test that on. We need to test it with users. We need to test, like you say, the different resolutions and things. Testing the code is obviously separate to how we test the interface. We need to do all the black box, white box testings and things. There's another type of testing we do called event only. What do you think that might be? Yeah, it's difficult this, isn't it? Oh, I know, it's so hard, this section. So literally you say, does this event actually fire? Does this event actually fire like it's supposed to? You don't care what the event actually does, you're just looking to see if the event fires when it's supposed to. Pre-alpha testing, also known as dog fooding. The phrase comes from people who want to eat their own dog food, because dog food companies used to get their internal employees to actually eat the dog food to check that it was enough to eat before feeding it to dogs. And software companies do exactly the same thing. If you work for Microsoft, you get access to all their latest programs that they are going to break every time you use them, but it's so that they can get information about them until they get to a point where it's stable enough to what they call an alpha build. An alpha build is still internal, but should be pretty much functional. It shouldn't actually crash very much. After you've got it from your alpha build, you then extend it to a closed beta, a beta group. And that beta group then test it for you, and you've got more and more people obviously testing it at each stage. After beta, you can then release it and it should be a working program. Everything okay so far for everybody? Yeah, not difficult so far? Good. I know, it's as I say, I am recording this, so you'll be able to watch back the video as well. This is, sorry? Exactly. An alpha participation is where you go out to your people within your company and say, would you like to test it? Yeah. Okay, what's the difference between a load test and a stress test then? Very good. Okay. Actually, very few people know the difference, even in the industry, so fingers crossed that that won't come up anyway. Okay, so evaluation, user testing against requirements. Right, once you've actually produced your piece of work, your piece of code, you then actually need to look back at your requirements that you produced in your specification and say, does this software actually meet the requirements that we had? Yes or no, very simple. Then you compare what your expected outcomes of the project were with your actual outcomes. The next stage is what's known as usability testing or acceptance testing. You literally go out to a small group of people that are the target users, and in controlled conditions, you bring them in, say, to a classroom, and don't give them any instructions about your software, and just ask them, can you do this task on it? Can you do this task, etc. And see. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I don't give any instructions. I just want you to see if you can do it, see if it's easy enough for you to use. That's the point where then you start asking people wider in your community, if you like, in your organisation to participate. After they all do it, you then do beta participation, and by that point you should find that the software actually works okay. Now, in the same way, maintenance is washing. Ah, right, okay, no worries. You're carrying yourself around with you, okay. Yeah, okay. So, maintenance procedures. We actually have to do maintenance, obviously, on projects all the time. And, yeah. Video. Yeah. Oh, okay. Hold on, let's see if I can invite him into the... add people to this call. Ryan. Yeah, he's on the call. Doesn't need to be speaking. Yeah. He's probably not got his microphone switched on because he doesn't want to annoy, or want you guys to annoy him. Right, hopefully he should now be joining the call. I thought he joined actually. Yeah, go give him a whack. Okay, so maintenance. Well, you need to have maintenance procedures. E.g., you need to plan exactly what maintenance you're going to do and when you're going to give out items. Maintenance. Oh, okay, no worries. Possibly. We'll soon find out whether he turns up or not. Okay, there are 3 types of maintenance that you can do in software. Corrective, perfective and adaptive. Okay. Corrective means fix a bug. Perfective makes things work better. And adaptive, there might be a change required because business regulations are changing. So for example, you would actually say, right, every Tuesday, once a month, we're going to send through all the bug fixes. That's what Microsoft do. They don't just every time they find a bug send out an update, because that would mean there'd be updates literally every couple of hours. So what they do is they say, right, we're going to roll up all our updates into just once a month. So every Tuesday, once a month, first Tuesday of the month, we'll send through some software that updates any problems that we found. Every time you do maintenance, you actually need to review that maintenance to check that you don't break something else by doing that maintenance. Okay, which often happens, and you quite often see companies like Apple and Microsoft, they release an update, a bug fix, and they have to pull it again afterwards because they've actually made a mistake and that actually breaks something else that might not come out in initial testing. Maintenance should be time-based. You should actually have a guidelines of when you are going to do certain types of maintenance. Some of these will be because they are 0-day errors that have to be fixed. Some of them, in the case of things like perfective, you can actually set timescales and say, right, we're going to get it working better by this point, etc. Some of them that are adaptive could be because of something that's changing in the real world. For example, I built a VAT calculator with one of my groups, and then the VAT rate changed. So we all had to perform maintenance on that software because the VAT rate was going to change on a certain Monday. So by that Monday, the VAT values had to be different. Now here is the stress on overload or load testing that Declan was talking about. Stress testing means trying to throw everything you possibly can at something and seeing if you can break it. It's the sort of Corey testing that you might like to do. What we need to do with our website at some point is actually a stress test where we'll try and bombard our website with as many requests as possible. There's tools to actually and see how long it is before it falls over, because every website will eventually fall over when there are too many people connected to it. Doesn't matter what website you've got, it will always have that. Load testing requires looking at the actual statistics that you get for your website and checking that you can match normally plus or minus 10% of your load. So if you can deal with the average number of people that you have, or the peak number of people that you have, plus 10%, then you should be okay for the company. Is everyone okay with that? Yep. What we're going to use to do an overload test, the same thing as the stress test, but you'll set the value being whatever the average value plus 10%. Okay, so if you go on the web, I can't remember what it's called. Something like that. I wouldn't use the iron cannon generally, but because that uses a botnet. But you can do it using a web-based thing if something wants to come up. Oh, there we go. There you go. Run up to 5 free tests a month. Load impact. There you go. That one's one we could do. And you can send 25 virtual users. So let's send them to our website out, shall we? Put www before it, just in case I don't know. Right, run free test. Let's see what happens. And here we go. So I do apologise, my laptop's running very slow because of having both Skype running and also recording the screen at the same time, which is obviously using up all my hard disk at the moment as well. So here we go, then you can actually run a stress test on your website very quickly and easily, and it will tell you how many it's done. At the moment we just have virtual users, but there are actually programs available which you can do as many as you want. Alright, so the load generators are based... Oh, I don't get that on my screen. No, come off. There we go. So there you go. Target system is located in the United Kingdom. It's not actually, it's in Germany, so that's quite interesting. We're about to start attacking our website. I've got 4 active users, 7... They're able to do 1 request a second. Look at that. No. Because it's actually using my computer to actually do it, which it probably is. It's probably using JavaScript to be able to load. But there you go, you can get some statistics and things like that. You can't see all that until you actually log in. But you can actually exactly how many, we've got 6 active users at the moment, and it's getting bigger and bigger. You guys will be able to do this on your computer much quicker, much better. As I say, it's because of both Skype and broadcasting my computer, etc., all at the same time. But you get the idea, that's how we do stress tests. Okay, so that's where I'm going to stop first of all. It's only slide 10 of the show, because that's the first thing that I want you guys to actually be able to put in place for your what you've done already for your practical work. Okay, so what we're looking at is the first section, learning objective 1, understanding the principles of software application testing. We've talked about all the evaluation, the testing techniques applicable. Compare the relative benefits of these different methodologies. So comparing Blackbox versus Whitebox, ultimate integration testing with functional testing, etc. And then you're going to justify how you are going to test your specific website. Okay. So what we're looking at is to create some tests that are both Blackbox, Whitebox, functional, and whole system tests that we're going to use with our web application. Does that all make sense for everybody? Yeah, I'll write down what I'm expecting you to do on Slack again, but that's what I'm hoping for you to do the first thing this morning, okay? So you're going to be doing some black box tests, white box tests, functional tests and whole system tests on our website, okay? We're looking at the learning objectives 1, okay? So it's this first slide here. 1.1, 1.2 and 3 is what I'd like you to be making notes on today and then actually going ahead and trying these out with your website. Is everyone okay with that? Luke, I'll talk to you in a few minutes separately, okay? Is everybody else okay? Someone getting some food out of foil? Okay, we just logged on to the call. Okay, we're looking at learning objective 1, okay? So from all the different techniques I've covered, we're going to evaluate those and compare them. So that's 1.2, and then we're going to justify how we're going to test our website to make sure it works correctly. I want you to start creating some tests, some black box tests, how you're going to white box test it, how you're going to do full system testing, etc. for our website, okay? Right, stop the recording of the screen now, stop the Skype call, save it to YouTube and be back on Slack. So if there are any questions, anyone can get in contact with me as needed, okay? Speak to you in a few moments. Oh, there we go. No problem. Bye.